Good evening all, and welcome to the continuing series of the National Joint Action Committee's National Consultation on UDeCOTT and the Commission of Inquiry into that organization and the construction industry. First of all, we need to welcome officially the Chief Servant and political leader of the National Joint Action Committee, Brother Makandal Daga, and we want to welcome all of you who have come from your different points to us here. I want to explain that these national consultations, came about as a result of NJAC's concern with the state of the Commission of Inquiry into UDeCOTT and the construction industry. As a matter of fact, we had sent out a release dated October the 8th, 2009. And I want to quote from that release. We said that the National Joint Action Committee is outraged that in the light of the revelations that have come out of the sittings of the Commission of Inquiry into UDeCOTT and the construction industry, that there has been an agreement between the UDeCOTT attorneys and the Commission's attorneys to stay further proceedings until February 2010. We note with extreme concern that the proposed resumption will coincide with the height of Carnival celebrations next year. And we continue to say in our release that NJAC is firmly of the view that this delay must not be, because justice delayed is justice denied. And as such, NJAC has decided to immediately embark on a series of people's consultations. Now, I want to explain that in that release, we had originally planned, and we stated that we would have 5 consultations: Port of Spain, San Fernando, Point Forte, Tobago, and Chaguanas. But now we have reached consultation number 7, and I'll explain later on how we have reached this point. NJAC invited trade unions, civil society groups, business organizations, the legal fraternity, credit unions, political parties, and the general public. And the responses were tremendous. Consultations took place. The first one was on Tuesday, the 13th of October at the Communication Workers Union Hall on Henry Street. We went back there on Tuesday, the 20th of October. Then on Wednesday, the 21st of October, we journeyed down to San Fernando for a consultation that was held at the Oilfield Workers Trade Union Paramount Building on Circular Road in San Fernando. On Tuesday, the 27th of October, we went to Curep, to the Shozando Panyard. And then on Wednesday, the 28th of October, we went to Point Forte and we held a consultation at the Oilfield Workers Trade Union's Hall in Point Forte. The next consultation, which was the 6th one, took place on Wednesday, the 4th of November at the Mayaro Civic Center. And that brings us to the 7th consultation, which we are holding this evening at Siparia. A significant number of leaders from the different organizations attended and spoke on behalf of at least 15 organizations. Among the organizations that were represented at the consultations were groups like, I can't go into all of them. We had the National Food Crop Farmers. We had the Elders of Desperados. We had Arthur Sanderson's committee from Siparia. We had the Joint Consultative Council for the construction industry, and that was well represented. We had representatives of the Artists Union of Trinidad and Tobago. There were representatives of the Congress of the People. Winston Peters, the MP for Mayaro, and his representatives were at different consultations. There were also representatives of the leadership of the Communication Workers Trade Union, as well as the Oilfield Workers Trade Union. All of the persons who spoke from these different organizations endorsed our proposals, and they pledged support for our objectives. I should let you know that the proposals that we presented on behalf of the National Joint Action Committee were: 1, we suggested the immediate removal of the present board of UDeCOTT; 2, the seizure of the passports of all board members; 3, the seizure of all documents relevant to the current inquiry; and fourthly, the investigation of all possibilities for the immediate resumption of the inquiry. At each of the consultations, we had presentations from attorneys at law. We looked at the question of the comments of different organizations outside of the National Joint Action Committee, and we also had information that came out of our investigations into particular aspects of UDeCOTT. Now, the attorneys at law who had spoken at the consultations, they outlined the very deliberate attempts that had been made to frustrate this Commission of Inquiry and to make it non-effective. They all noted that there has been a historic pattern with the Commissions of Inquiry in Trinidad and Tobago, because they noted that in the past and currently, Commissions of Inquiry have been used as a delaying process, and they gave specific examples such as the Scott Commission of Inquiry into illegal drugs. One of the attorneys was very, very confident indeed that plans are already in place to prevent the effective use of the information that has already been gathered into this inquiry into UDeCOTT. A notable feature that has emerged with regard to some of the research that we had done is that the consultation revealed the vast number of projects that are under the auspices of UDeCOTT. And some of these projects have not even been yet attempted, and they have been so for the last 5 years. We found out, and this became a matter of very intense discussion, that there are more than 64 projects that are currently under UDeCOTT. And this has thrown us into a situation where we had to increase the amount of consultations. And that is why we have moved from an original 5, we have now reached 7, and there are several more to take place. The other matter that came out of the consultation is that we have had to set up a research department to look into the implications of some of the revelations that have come out of the very consultations themselves. For example, we have noted that UDeCOTT has led to a situation where a large number of major contractors have been denied jobs. And because of the way UDeCOTT has been structured with the several amount of projects that they have, this has led to the retrenchment of a lot of local workers who were employed by these contractors, these local contractors. And at the same time, we have noticed that a large number of foreigners have been introduced to work on the projects. Now, the other considerations that have emerged out of the consultations that we have been holding are the 2 proposals that we put forward regarding the seizure of passports and the seizure of documents relevant to the inquiry. These 2 proposals definitely received unanimous support. And they received support particularly in the light of the situation of Mrs. Hart, the wife of Calder Hart, because to all intents and purposes, her appearance at the Commission of Inquiry has been frustrated. We don't know whether she's in the country or out of the country, and her evidence is critical to particular aspects where Sunway is concerned under the auspices of UDeCOTT. Then there are other matters like the question of Mr. Hart's salary.